Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is braving the storm. We often, when we're faced with challenges, we brace and tense up and contract and stiffen. And today we're just going to talk about what would it look like to be moving with open heart into the challenges that confront us, or that by which we feel confronted. So it should be an interesting conversation. And good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. Now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any tension, remaining fatigue, stress, negativity. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together, feel the friction, the motion, the pressure, temperature, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's Friday. It's another week flown by. It's just remarkable to me how quickly the time is passing. So we're talking about braving the storm. So life presents all kinds of circumstances that we get to contend with. And what's going on for me is my beloved cat Jewel goes through these periods. She's 16, so she pretty much annually, she goes through these periods where she stops eating and she doesn't drink. She gets dehydrated. I end up having to take her to the vet and get her fluids and whatever other kind of treatment. And every time this happens, I go through a whole bunch of emotions around it, because I adore her and I want her to be well and happy. And the fact that she's an older cat too, comes into play. And when she stops eating and she loses weight and there are challenges, what shows up for me is obvious, I think natural fear around, or thoughts around her dying. And I don't know if fear is the right word, but a deep mix of emotions that arise in the face of that prospect, and also feeling helpless to be able to assist her, to support her. And so I'm calling this the storm. And the storm shows up in all different ways for all of us in all different times. And the question is, how do we brave the storm? And typically, or historically, thinking about braving the storm, it's always had the connotation for me about bracing myself, stealing myself for it. So what do we do when we brace ourselves? We contract, we stiffen, and as a result, there's that rigidity. We have less ability to be responsive to the requirements of the moment in certain ways. We brace ourselves. And so in the face of this, whatever is going to happen with her, with my cat in this particular moment that I'm calling a storm, I'm looking at what it would be to be, instead of bracing myself, instead of walling myself off for protection, what would it be to be able to be present with open heart? And how would that be different? And I'm in the exploration of it. So it's not that I have answers. I've had a number of pets in my life that have died and that I have ushered through that process. And I don't think that that's what's happening with her in this moment, but the memories of that and the heartbreak of that is what shows up, when there's the concern for her well-being in the present. And the inclination in the automatic behavior is to dissociate, to separate. And in the past and in this moment, it's a deliberate and conscious choice to move closer, to connect more deeply, instead of to be pulling back for self-protection. And I think that we have, I think there's a richness available in allowing that dimension of presence. And it's scary, right? Because there's a vulnerability to it. It's an enhanced vulnerability even, that knowing that there can be pain, and being present for not just the pain, but the love and the caring and the connection. And Rosalind says, of course, it's hard to let go of our loved ones, wanting to keep or hold a state. The storm is resistance to change. Allowing opens the heart to feel fully both the good and the bad. Exactly, Rosalind. Thank you. So beautifully said. Because this bracing is resistance. It's resistance to change and the flow of life, the ebbs and flows that are very much a part of life, the joys and the sorrows. And I tend to believe that she's going to be fine and that she's got a couple more good years in her, but we'll see. And I also notice in this bracing for the storm, it's kind of the first place that my mind has gone in these kind of situations is trying to prepare for the worst, right? Rather than anticipating instead her recovery. It's a mix. It's like this seesaw. We talked about beauty and chaos yesterday. And this is just such a perfect example for me, or the embodiment of beauty and chaos um, in their dynamic play in my heart as I'm contending with her well-being. So, it's interesting. It's really interesting to be being aware of myself and my inclinations in this situation, and to keep choosing to represence myself, to deliberately bring myself back and be engaged, because I think it's a very natural mechanism that when we experience trauma, when we experience things that are difficult, that it's a self-preservation thing to sort of shut down. And I'm extending an invitation to all of us to choose in that moment, to not go into automatic pilot, but to actually be present. Because even in emergencies, or maybe even especially in emergencies, when we enable ourselves to be present, we can be more responsive and we can act appropriately. Kimberly, good morning. Good morning. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about weathering the storm, and I'm just talking about my darling cat, Jewel, who's having some health issues right now, and talking about what comes up around that, just as a specific example of how we tend to shut down, retreat, constrict in the face of the storm or the challenges that we experience. I just had this image of the rains and the winds and someone sort of bracing over it, rather than opening to it. And I have on occasion, rare occasion, but I have actually been out in a storm deliberately and opened to the storm. And that's a very powerful and empowering experience. Maybe not a tornado, or a hurricane, but there to be able to be responsive rather than shutting down and shutting off. So Rosalind says perhaps chaos accelerates the projection, or maybe protection. I'm not sure if you mean projection, and we become more hypersensitive. Okay, so that could, I think you mean projection. I can see where that could be the case, is the chaos is sensitizing us to a situation. And certainly in this particular instance, it's bringing my awareness to something that I might not have consciously recognized as vividly. And in the past, when situations like when a pet has been not well, my emotions have always gone to loss and sadness and fear and depression. And I'm in this moment, I'm looking at how to move more deeply into love and presence, to be able to just be present with her, whatever's happening, whether she gets well or she doesn't. And to move into, instead of bracing against the storm, to brave it, to actually rally my courage and open my heart more fully to truly brave the storm rather than bracing against it. And I think that there's so much more opportunity for us as we are experiencing such a stormy time, actually and metaphorically, to be looking at what it takes to brave the storm. You know, what does it look like if we cultivate a deeper sense of connection in that space? Kimberly says, I've been on the journey of letting go of my auntie. It's a process. I allowed myself to feel every emotion, and I know she would not want me to be sad in my heart. Oh, she would not want me to be sad. My heart will always hold her. I know she's in a better place. Sorry about your sweet cat. Hugs and lots of love. I thank you, Kimberly, and this journey of letting go, maybe it's a journey of embracing more than it's a journey of letting go, and embracing but not holding, you know, not trying to hold on, but to embrace, to just like hold in a hug and embrace all of it. And it sounds like you are, where you're feeling every emotion. And I think our inclination can be to wall off our hearts from the hurt. And the thing is that just deepens the pain and prolongs it, and the resisting of the pain amplifies it. And I think that if we can find a way to be open-hearted, to move toward instead of away, that the richness of the experience that's available to us is probably incalculable, is probably unfathomable, that we get to feel the love, the joy, the grief, all of it. And I'll just ask you for your intentions for her best and highest good. You know, I don't think she's dying right now. I really, truly don't. I've seen her go through the cycle a number of times where she wouldn't eat. And if that's what's happening, that's what's happening. And I get to be there in fuller presence. It takes courage. It takes courage for us to face the emotional pain of love and connection and loss and all of that. And so I guess what I'm talking about is moving from bracing this against the storm to brave the storm by moving with open heart. And we get to do that in our day-to-day lives, right? There's all the challenges that exist in our lives. We can move toward or away. We can open our hearts. We can presence ourselves. And I don't mean to open our hearts in a sacrificial way. Not about sacrifice. I'm talking about presence. And so, you know, we often protect our hearts or close down, separate ourselves because the way that we're relating is needing something. This actually reminds me of a conversation that I had yesterday with someone about love and how we withdraw love, or we're really good at giving love because we're trying to fill a vacuum within ourselves. And that kind of love that we give to try and fill that vacuum, if that the object of that love is no longer there, then the vacuum is felt even more deeply within us, right? So there's this tremendous void that remains. Rosalind says, holding space for support and nurturing love for Jewel, sending snuggles and slow eye blink exchange. That's beautiful, Rosalind. Thank you so much. You know, it's so funny. The way that Jewel and I tell each other that we love each other is by winking. I'll wink at her, she'll wink at me. You know, I'll say I love you, she'll wink at me. It's really cool that we have this this way to say I love you. And thank you for your wishes for her. She receives them, as do I, gratefully and with deep appreciation. So I think that we have, you know, we think we're protecting ourselves by shutting down and separating ourselves. And what we're doing is we're robbing ourselves of connection and opportunities for love and even deepening of love. And it takes courage. It takes courage to be willing to open yourself. And I'm not saying foolishly. I'm not not in a codependent kind of way, you know, but to really allow yourself to be present for connection without needing anything. And I don't know that I'm at the place yet where I don't need anything from her. You know, like I do depend on her love in a lot of ways. And so this is an opportunity for me to be just really loving her without needing. And that's a new arena. There are degrees, of course, you know, we evolve to different degrees of experience, hopefully, right? And often in so many cases, our loving someone or another being is about ourselves and our own need, right? I need to give love, I need to receive love. So Rosalind says, so the practice is to notice gradations. I think that's part of it, you know, to be able, maybe we get to notice our progress, you know, we get to notice that we are evolving. And that not all the experiences, that this experience isn't the same experience that I've had every other experience in my life. You know, we often generalize and say, oh, here it is, it's the same old thing over and over again. I've been here before. Well, the truth is that we can't ever go back. Things may look similar, things may look familiar, but it's not the same because you're not the same. I'm not the same. And there are certain distinctions that I'm present to now that I haven't been present to in this dimension before. So nuances, and we can call them nuances, we can call them gradations. Rosalind says also there's no amount of preparedness when you can do when someone passes away. That's so true, Rosalind. And we try and trick ourselves into that, like, I'm dealing with it now, I'm dealing with the grief of it now, and I won't have to deal with that grief later, or you know, I'm handling it. So, but the truth is that a loss is a loss when it occurs, and we can't really anticipate that situation, right? I mean, we can anticipate that it some aspects of it, but it's true, it's not something that you can prepare for, even if it's years of caring for someone before they die, for instance. So Kimberly says, your bravery and love will get you through, sending love and healing thoughts for Jewel and you for comfort for your heart. Kimberly, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity in that, and to all of you. You know, we're all going through the things we go through in our lives. We all have our storms to brave, and I'm deeply grateful for your wishes and your prayers, and your compassion, and we get to share that with each other, right? Because we're all facing our own storms, and the question is, how do we do that with open heart? How do we do that in presence? And Rosalind says, prepare for possibilities without being driven by fear. Thank you, Rosalind. Yes. Rather than fearing, what if we find a place to rest in that life is happening for me, not to me, for me and through me rather than to me. And so, and that what if, as inconceivable, unfathomable, incomprehensible as it might be, what if life is unfolding in its perfection? And we all know that death is part of the cycle of life. We know this. And yeah, the what comes to mind is the dependencies that we cultivate, right? Being dependent on pattern, being dependent on relationship, being dependent on continuity, companionship, relationship. And it's made me think of a dear friend whose husband has been in hospice, and she's been heavy in my mind and heart also for the change of life that is happening for her as their 50-year marriage is, is dissolving with his passing. So my experience with my cat is opening my heart even more deeply for her. And Rosalind says, perhaps it's a projection to remember forgotten aspects of yourself. That's sort of a Mobius strip of ideas there. It is a projection for sure, because what we're doing is we're recreating that story, right? When we remember, we're creating new stories. It's not necessarily truth. We're kind of rewriting and revivifying, revitalizing as we remember, putting things back together. Yeah, there's a richness in, we can use our memory to enliven or disempower, right? Because our memory, it's not like our memory is truth. Our memory is something in this moment that is an interpretation or a representation of something that happened before that we don't have the capacity to recreate in its fullness. But we recreate it, and then that lodges itself in that recreation, and we keep recreating. It's not that it's truth. We have stories that we go through life with, like stories of abandonment or stories of rejection or stories of not good enough. And so Kimberly says, circle of life, I've been saying to myself to ease the pain. And so Kimberly, I so have compassion for you and the pain of the loss. And I think what we tend to do is focus on the loss because it feels like a part of ourself is missing. And when we have the grace to be able, and it takes time, to move to the having rather than the loss, to the embracing rather than the emptiness. That time will come where hopefully you'll be able to remember your auntie with a smile and some love and joy, hopefully. And hopefully the sorrow will pass, and maybe you'll be able to make a deeper non-corporeal kind of connection with her. So I think that's it for this morning, folks. It's Friday. I wish you a beautiful weekend of open-hearted bravery and courage. And Kimberly says, thank you. I will hold that space. Yeah. Space of grace. Rosalind says, sending love for inspiring insights to new ways of being. Today would be a good day to die. It's Good Friday. Just kidding. Sorry, no offense. Happy Easter. Oh, wow. Oh, and Kimberly says, have a wonderful day. So wishing you all well and deep, deep open-heartedness in your holidays. And until next time, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern. And so much gratitude to all of you for your hearts and minds and engagement and contribution and love. And so until next time, so much love to you.